difficult thing to do, but some things they're doing to help hospitals, and then what they're doing to ensure your safety when you order food from them. And then we have Brian. Brian is from Transnation title, and he is from the Metro Division, which he owns, and that's in Clarkston and also Fenton. And he's going to talk to us about what they're doing to keep real estate transactions happening safely. And then we have Dave, who's triple threat, man. He's the EMT fireman in Atlanta, but he's also a mortgage guy, an amazing mortgage guy, but maybe not the most amazing because, you know, there's a lot of people who might be upset for me to pick one, and I might even want to pick myself, Dave. So right. Dave does great, man. I only have one job. Dave has, you know, two simultaneously. So I think that's a pretty amazing thing. So we want to talk today about obviously how this pandemic is affecting us all, and how what we can, you know, what we're all doing in our businesses, how we're affected, what we're doing to stay ahead of the curve and help, you know, society at large. So we'll start with Brian. I kind of go toward the real estate stuff first generally. But as I said, again, we're going to say it again because we had a technical problem, but I think real estate transactions, especially refinances, are really important right now, Brian, because we're helping people do better financially. We're helping them lower their payment, take advantage of the rates. Things have tightened a little bit, so it might be a little harder to get approved, but those who are getting approved are getting, obviously, an opportunity to save a lot of money, and that could be super important as we're going through a lot of the economic struggles that we're seeing. So what are you guys doing? Because obviously in the real estate transaction, especially refinance, we can do a lot of stuff without going face-to-face, but historically, especially in Michigan, we do stuff at the title company to close it out, and we have to be face-to-face to notarize documents and things. What is your company doing to make sure that is as safe and as clean an environment as possible so that there's no transfer of this virus as everyone's worried about?
So what we've done in our office basically is the doors are locked to employees only. We've kind of sent as many of our staff home. All of our staff are essential, but then we took our staff and said, hey, who can work from home, who can stay? So we've kind of limited the number of people that are in the office every day. Doors remain locked. Unfortunately, the real estate agents are not allowed to come to the closings. Only those that are actually signing are the ones that we want to have involved in the transaction. So I know that disappoints, the whole thing in general disappoints how things are going, but the realtor really wants to be there to be able to have that closing and finish out the transaction with them. But we're definitely taking care of the buyers and sellers for our customers. They are coming in. We have a couple of questions we're asking them, basically some health questions, making sure that they're definitely feeling good and not in contact with anybody. We have gloves, we have masks. We offer, if they want them, we are wearing them as well, just to keep as much as we can everybody safe. They get their own ink pen when they come in. We're closing inside the office if we can. We also, whatever they're comfortable with. I did multiple closings today outside. We can set up a table and chairs outside if it's nice. We've done it in cars. Some people don't want to get out of their vehicles. So we do whatever they feel the most comfortable with, and the most, and making sure that their safety is our number one priority. And things have been going pretty well with that. The other thing that just got introduced and signed late last night is the remote online notarization. That allows signers and notaries to be in separate locations. We can do things such as what we're doing now through Zoom, but this is a different program, and that allows us to be able to sign and close transactions, buy side, sell side transactions, anything that doesn't need to have a wet signature. From a lending perspective, we're able to close. That was a big change last night, and that is, I think, going to help us through this pandemic that we're going through, and allow us to get transactions going so the customer feels just as safe as possible. And basically doing the remote, there's obviously no contact. So they're not in contact with me, I'm not in contact with them. We're both safe, and the transaction gets completed, and they can enjoy their new home.
Awesome. Now, Dave, you said you've done a couple of these closings where they didn't have to be face to face. Tell us about that.
Yeah, this was new to us this week. As of last week, the governor in Georgia allowed this transaction not to be face-to-face due to the COVID-19. And we've done 5 of them this week. The attorneys are overnighting the package to the client, and then they're setting up a webcam, whether it's Zoom or Ring Central or, whatever it is. The attorney, because Georgia's an attorney state, the attorney's watching them sign the documents, asking questions like they normally would. And then that wet package is being overnighted back to the attorney, so the wet signatures are there and they can file them. The only thing that's different is not face-to-face, it's through a webcam. So I've got a whole lot of closings coming up, and everybody wants that. Everyone feels safer that way. And it's a success. We've knocked them out of the park this week. I got one buddy of mine who closed from his boat. So he was happy. He refinanced his house, saved a whole lot of money, lowered his term, and got a boat day at the same time. So, the win-win.
Wow, that's pretty cool. What about, speaking of things that you're dealing with down in Atlanta with the fire department, how has that changed, before the types of calls you got versus the types of calls you're getting now? And you guys, I know you said you're dually trained and certified to do fire and EMS work. So how has that changed in the last month or two?
The fire department has changed a lot. We've done a complete 180 on how we handle our everyday daily business. So the fire department the fire station is a house and a place for the public to come to. If the public wants to use the restroom, they can come there. If the public is not sick and just wants their blood pressure taken, they come here, right? If they want, a glass of water, we can give them a glass of water, right? And we got cups, car seats, the little things like that we don't think of. The door is always open, but now the door is closed, right? We're closed for business unless it's an emergency. So all the little things we're not letting people in the house for, right? No visitors. So if like my wife wanted to come up and visit, just say hello. Where normally you can have someone come in and say hi. No visitors in the firehouse. No non-emergency calls. And even if there is an emergency call, we're doing that outside. We're not letting them inside the bay where we would normally maybe take their blood pressure or initiate care. This is all handling outside, and we're limiting the amount of firemen or firefighters addressing that one emergency call. We're screening the calls a little better. Normally you call 911 and the fire department's coming, right? Not only the fire department comes, but the local EMS, which for us is Grady Ambulance, right? The Grady Hospital sends a ambulance as well as we send a fire engine. Whoever gets there first initiates care, and then the ambulance takes them to the hospital, where now they're screening those calls. If the fire department is not needed 100%, we're not going, right? So our call volume as far as EMS has gone down the last couple of weeks because we're not going on the non-essential, non-emergency calls like where we normally would go on. So yes, we are handling things a lot differently. At 0700 and 1900 hours, every single shift, every firefighter has their temperature read. So before I get to work, I got to fill out a form and have my temperature read. If my temperature's higher than 100, 100 or higher, I get sent home. If we are in contact with someone with COVID-19, paperwork and we're quarantined. So there's a lot of changes and a lot of, we're not taking the risks and putting our firefighters in danger.
Okay. So how about the types of, like the number of fire calls specifically? I know that's like your main thing is the fire fighting. What's the number of calls that you get? I mean, a lot more people are home, so there's less chance that someone doesn't know that a fire started in their house or there's smoke or they don't hear the smoke alarm because they're not even home. How's that changed things?
I don't think the amount of house fires or car fires has went down or up. The fire itself don't know that COVID-19 is out there, right? It's, there's just, I don't think that one thing has anything to do with the other. I think that people are cooking more, so you're going to have that, more alarm bells due to just setting off their smoke detectors. But actual fire, I don't see that we're having any more or less due to the pandemic.
Okay. All right. What about calls for people to be transported to the hospital?
Yeah, they're sending out. Yeah, I noticed the ambulance company. When I say the ambulance, the actual hospital, Grady Hospital, is sending, and that's who does our EMS. There's plenty of different hospitals, but for us, I noticed they're sending a nurse practitioner along with the EMT or paramedic, and they can diagnose on the scene. They can, if there's an issue, they can write a script, that nurse practitioner. So instead of taking that patient to the hospital, they're assessing right then and there. That's one less person in the hospital, right? That's one less person that those doctors or the ER has to deal with, right? If it's just a call that they can handle on scene, if it's something that the nurse practitioner can handle, they will write a script and then have that person go fill their script instead of bringing them to the hospital. So they're changing the way they're doing business as well.
Okay, well, that's good. All right, now let's go over to Lewis. Lewis, you run a pretty good operation there, man. It's been around for a long time. It's very successful. How has this just totally changed your business in general?
Well, in March 15th, when on a Sunday morning, I usually go in and place an order with the restaurant, with my distributors. And when they said they were going to go to a 50% occupancy, I said, well, why don't I go ahead and order as little as possible? Normally, we would order about goods, and just for goods alone, about 25,000 to 30,000 a week. So I figured, well, let me cut it back and go to about $5,000 of ordering. On Monday, the 16th, before St. Patrick's Day, they decided to go to just completely close everything down and just do takeouts. That was a kick in the gut. And then having to lay off about 80 employees, that was one of the toughest things for us from a standpoint. But, everybody's going through the same thing. The toughest part for us right now is we're changing as things are going. And I have a feeling that this is going to be the new norm. I think people are starting to realize that it's going to be one of those things. And even after they lift all of this, I have a feeling that a lot of the people are going to be kind of scared to go into restaurants. We have a 300-seat restaurant, and it's going to probably become a 150-seat restaurant because you're trying to keep people as spread out as possible. And the way I look at the scenario, I have a brother that lives in Macau, China. I was born there. And he told me what he said back in January. He said, you watch, this is going to happen to you guys too. And, but what they have in Macau, China right now, they have 40 cases. If you get a chance to look at that, I mean, it's the most densely populated part of China. It's got 657,000 people in 8 square miles. They have 40 cases. Anybody that comes in, what they've been doing is putting them in hotels. Now, they quarantine them for 14 days before they allow them into the city at all. So that's what they're trying to do from their standpoint. But I was kind of aware of what was going to happen, but you never know how the impact is going to be. And it's a tremendous impact for the restaurant industry, independent restaurants also. And I have a feeling that they're giving us statistics on it. I deal with the distributor every day. They're saying probably about 30% of the restaurants in Michigan are not going to make it, The other thing that we're coming through right now is we have enough cash flow to last, couple of months, things like that. But on the other hand, a lot of these mom and pops don't have that option, So when you go to right now we're going through this PPP loan, we're trying to fill out all the paperwork and everything else. I mean, that's been a nightmare. I've been dealing with my bank for the last week and still haven't gotten the information. And how long before they actually, if they do approve it, the SBA does approve it, how long before you get those funds? And a lot of these places will close up by then. And right now, as she's going through the executive order and saying, okay, we're going to go through April 30th, then now it's going to go to May, a lot of places are going to just shut down completely. So it's survival of whatever is left over there. And people are not spending as much because of the fact that the stimulus check has not come in. And even now, people are not going to go out and spend that much anyway. So,
right. That definitely makes sense. Well, obviously, you spoke of fear. You're trying to keep people from being afraid.
Yes.
To buy food takeout. Like, we're allowed to do takeout, but even that, I mean, I imagine that takeout numbers you'd expect to be much higher than a normal time because people can come in and sit down. Why do takeout? But now they're forced to do takeout. But I bet a lot of people who normally would go out to eat in general just aren't. Possibly just because partly of fear. So what is your staff doing and we can tell people this is how restaurants are handling it to alleviate their fear. of getting the virus from someone who prepared their food?
Well, a lot of the things that we're changing, a lot of our preparation procedures too. We're bringing in a lot of products already, sort of, just like diced tomatoes, things like that. You're not dicing it anymore. You're bringing it in already diced. We're cutting down the process of having a bunch of people doing different things, because also at the same time, you're used to running with about 12 cooks in the kitchen. Now you're running with 4. You're cutting all of that back, but also at the same time, we're buying things in that we're just heating up, not going through, try to make as much scratch cookery as we can in the past. The other thing we're doing is we're sanitizing every night, and the takeouts are now going all in sealed bags. So there's no, 2 or 3 hands grabbing a hold of this, because we also do deliveries with Grubhub. So when they come in, they pick up a sealed bag as opposed to picking up, different containers and putting it in their bag. So that's what we're also doing. And as far as doing self-delivery, if we do any deliveries, we take it, for instance, around where we're at, we take it anywhere. We knock the door and we just leave the bag there, like going to the hotels. We go to the lobby and that's it. That's all we're going to do. So.
And you guys are preparing food for one of the hospitals locally, correct?
Right. We have a food truck that runs out that serves some of the doctors and some of the nurses over there. We do charge for it, but at the same time, we also do some things with Whaley, the Children's Center. We're providing them meals for the last about 3 weeks worth of meals, one meal a day, 5 days a week. We were doing that, feeding about 70 people until they got their inventory up and running. So their inventory is back up now. So I told them in the next couple of weeks, if they start running low again, we'll start doing that all over again for them.
Excellent.
And then we're also doing things like Easter Sunday, we're doing takeouts too for that. So.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. We'll come back to that so people can hear that right at the end. So if they're thinking about Easter dinner, they can hear what you have to offer there. Hey, Dave, you guys have to live in the firehouse so many days a week, right? How have things changed with that? I know, like, we just heard how the restaurant industry is just completely changed. 12 cooks in the kitchen down to 4. How about you guys as far as how many firemen are staying the night, how they're quartered differently maybe?
It's the same. It's business as usual. We're just taking extra precautions within ourselves of, we're cleaning the station constantly, right? So every time we go to a call, we're wearing masks as well, right? So we always wear gloves regardless, but now we're putting masks on. Now we're putting eye protection on. If we even suspect anything that's normal, like COVID-19, we're putting a full gown on, right? Once we come back, we take all that stuff, we throw it away, right? Now, if there's nothing wrong with the mask, we'll reuse it, or the gloves, obviously, we throw away. But if there's any type of suspicion of COVID-19, we're throwing all of our PPE away, washing our clothes, boots off at the, usually we can walk in and out. Now we're taking boots off before we go into the house. So we're trying to keep our house sanitized as possible. Every couple hours, regardless, we're washing the inside of that station, wiping handles more than we did. Obviously, we always wash hands, but now we're just taking extra steps to, wash them again. So, yeah, we're trying to take care of ourselves.
Is it like we see on TV at all, like Chicago Fire is a show that, a lot of people, it's a current show that's pretty important, or pretty big, and pretty popular. So we see, I know you're laughing because I'm sure if there was a show about mortgages and title and all that stuff, we'd all laugh at it. But is it like that where, you're hanging out on the couch together, someone's preparing the meal for the whole house for the day and that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, stuff like that does happen. I mean, those shows are made for TV. So, it's good entertainment, but, there's a little bit of truth to it and a lot of TV truth to it, right? So,
yeah, well, you said that there's a lot of different types of calls other than just fire. And that's one thing I will say about Chicago Fire. That show does show them doing all kinds of stuff where there's no fire involved at all. So,
we go on a pretty diverse amount of calls. We just don't get them all in one day. Like Chicago Fire has them all in one day, right? I mean, you're checking every box, right? There's something's happening. But yes, we are there for 24 hours. The next shift comes in after us there for 24 hours, and then the next shift after that, and then wash, rinse, and repeat. So I worked yesterday. I got home this morning at 7 a.m., and I go back on Saturday at 7 a.m., and I'm there for 24 hours. So that's our house. We do prepare meals. So we've got 1 or 2 guys that will cook, and usually it's breakfast and dinner, and lunch we're on our own, but we try to eat together just like a family.
Well, are you one of the guys bringing the bringing the good food, bringing the cooking skills?
I used to be a cook, and now you got your cookers and your eaters, and I'm an eater, you know.
Well, hey, one more thing regarding your background is that you are from New York.
Mhm.
So you have family and stuff. Are people still up there that you're really close to? How are they coping with this? Like, what's the danger level for your close community up there?
It's a lot worse, without a doubt. It's much, much worse there than it is anywhere in the country. You know, their fear, there's a lot of fear in New York right now because of, it's so, remember, New York's so condensed. It's just like everyone's on top of each other, right? So I've got several friends that have been tested positive and they're in quarantine and they're getting better. I know of friends that have family members that already passed away from it. And I know of people, it's affecting everybody, but the panic level there is high. People are scared there, and they should be, because it's worse there than it is anywhere in the country. I believe today, in the last 3 days, the death rate has increased every single day, and it's been the highest it's been. So it's not getting better.
All right. Well, we'll be praying for those folks and getting them to get on the downside of this thing, man. That's what we want to see for sure. Does Atlanta have any of the same problems with the lack of equipment and lack of beds?
No, not yet. But I was looking up some stats, and hold on, I had it here earlier. It timed out on me. As of today, we had 17 deaths and 665 cases, for a total of 379 deaths and 10,500 cases. We're not getting hit as a lot of the other, bigger states, which is surprising because of the size of our airport.
Right.
We're the busiest airport in the world, right? There's not a busier airport in the whole world. Hartsfield Jackson, but you would think that we had more cases. Thankfully, we don't, compared to the other states that are getting hit really hard. But no, so far we do not have an equipment problem that I am aware of.
That's good. Definitely. We know you're keeping busy with mortgages. Brian, I know you're keeping busy with trying to do some refinances mainly, but what can you tell your realtor friends who you have to deal with realtors and mortgage companies? That's your bread and butter. So should they be, if they got people who want to list their house, should they be pulling title up front? That keeps you guys busy. That keeps things kind of ahead of the curve when things open up and a house can be actively marketed. Should they be doing stuff like that to get ahead of the game?
Yeah, most definitely. We always encourage, no matter what situation, if they're thinking about getting a listing, to do pre-title. We don't charge any fees for the pre-title. I don't come after you if we have a transaction you do pre-title on and nothing happens. I don't invoice you for that. It's we just encourage you to get ahead of that. That gives us a chance if it's a trust, if it's a death, if it's a divorce, there's liens on the properties. That gives us a chance, ample time to get any necessary documentation, locate heirs, just be able to get that ready to go and clean. So when that does happen, all you got to do is worry about getting a buyer, and we'll be able to get to the table and close the transaction in the timely manner and the date that you guys agreed to.
Good. Now, I think Dave and I would both encourage the realtors to not just get that pre-title, but to read it and see what's going on. It's so funny when we get a transaction and we're like trying to schedule closing. They're like, oh yeah, the title company told us there's a third owner that we didn't even have signed the purchase agreement or do this or do that. It's like, I would think that the first question I ask if I'm listing a house is, are you the only owners of the house? Who all owns the house? And then I'd be verifying that with title, do you have the right to sell this house? It's pretty important. So getting the title work up front, maybe discussing it with you. If they can't, it's like legal mumbo jumbo that they don't see every day. Maybe they could discuss that with someone on your staff to understand. It'd be good.
Yeah, most definitely.
Learn title at this point.
Right. When we do that, we when the title commitment comes back, my examiner sends out, it's basically called, the thing called title tracks. And it basically, it highlights what does the title look like? What is that, who is the current owner? We're going to tell you who the current owner is. We're going to tell you what the legal description is. We're going to tell you what's on it, what we found when we did our examining. So it's going to give you a high level, like Cliff Notes version of what the commitment looks like. And then, by all means, if you have questions, you're welcome to contact We give you the contact information directly of the examiner. You can call any of my staff. The contact information's there. You're always able to get a hold of me. You know, my phone's on until 10 o'clock at night. So anytime, you know, of the day and in the evening, I am available to answer any of these questions that you may have.
Perfect. Well, you know, if you're wanting to sell your house, you know, you definitely don't want to overuse your stuff, like your oven, especially at Easter time. So we'll talk to Lewis here about what's going on for Easter. You know, my wife asked me, what do you think you want for Easter dinner? And I don't know what you guys are doing, but I was like, we're not going to Easter service. I mean, we'll watch it on TV, but we do that every Sunday anyway. I don't really care. It could be just like any other meal. And then I thought, no, we shouldn't do that. We should try to be like normal, which is make it a special meal. So don't eat cereal out there, people. Don't eat leftovers. Don't go grab a hot dog and throw it in the microwave. If you want some good food and you're not one to usually prepare your Easter meal, you're just able to go partake of delicious food, you can still do that, but it's limited. So I'll have Luis Fernandes here from Redwood tell us, if you're in the area, how you can take advantage of what they're offering for Easter dinner.
One of the things that we're doing this year, normally on Easter or Mother's Day, we usually do a buffet, but you know, and our amount of people that we serve is about 1,200 people. So this time we're changing a lot of things around because a lot of people are not having big families at the house. So we have two options. One, you can order a package for 4 people, or you can turn around and order individual meals. And we have everything from prime rib to chicken to salmon to the vegetarian meals, also in baked ham. So this is the whole thing that's changing. And we have probably one of the things that we also did was we started letting people order online, which the cutoff was today, but they can still call if they want to come in and order for Sunday. And what they're going to do is they're going to come in when they get to the parking lot, they will call us and we'll bring their meals out to them. So, and it's already all ready to go. And we're spacing that apart, 6 to 10 cars every 15 minutes. We're doing that. So
They got a time they're supposed to show up at a certain time to pick up.
Right, 10 a.m. to 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. is what we're serving that day on Easter Sunday. So.
And that's quite an Easter dinner, getting to have everybody get to have whatever they want.
Right.
Yeah. Every time we're in the car on a Sunday, my kids are all saying what they want to do. And if we're doing takeout, I'm willing to go here for me and my daughter and here for my wife. And my wife thinks that's the dumbest idea. We can all eat at the same place. But at least if they go to you this Sunday, they can all get what they want. So that's cool. But I recommend
everything will be in microwavable containers. So if they want to heat it back up, they can do that too.
Perfect. So you better make that call tomorrow on Friday. Don't wait because they're limited. Well, thanks a lot, guys, for coming on. I'll go around and get everyone's final word, what a message you want to give for this pandemic we're going through. Dave, we'll start with you, man. What do you want to say? It could be mortgage related, fireman related, whatever you want, man.
Just, it's this will pass soon enough, and we got to take care of each other. Just it's hard. It's funny that we got to remind each other just to wash each other's hands. Wash your hands. Take the extra step. Keep your distance from people until this all passes, and hopefully it will. But let's just take care of each other. That's what we need to.
All right. If you're in the Georgia area and you want to save some money, though, do look this guy up because he'll do a great job for you on mortgages. If you're in Michigan, don't call him though. All right. All right, Brian. What do you?
Not licensed there anyway.
All right. Good. Brian, what are your final thoughts?
Just again, just being patient, just knowing that we're doing what we can to ensure that we're going to be able to close your transaction in a timely manner, in a safe environment, and just be flexible, be understanding, and this hopefully will be over soon, and we'll be back to our normal our real estate world in Genesee and Oakland and the surrounding counties.
Hey, if you want to sell, though, get with that realtor and maybe do some video on your phone about here's what my living room looks like, and your realtor can give you tips on what you can do to it. Take these pictures off the wall, do this, do that, something to make it attractive. And then if you're a realtor, order that title work on a listing ahead of time, understand what you're looking at, and be ready to put that house in the market and get some offers. And I say the same thing for buyers, like get pre-approved now. Be standing in the front of the line when the rules are lifted and we're allowed to go about with life as normal. You've already looked at some houses online. You kind of know what you want. Be the front of the line, first person to go check out that house that you want. And if they're a seller, you got everything lined up. The buyer's got everything lined up. We can close some stuff quick. I mean, we're used to closing. Dave can tell you because my parent company and Dave, the company that Dave works for is one and the same. So Dave can tell you we're used to closing stuff in 2 weeks sometimes. I mean, if you guys are ready, when the rules are lifted, we can close quick, and a company like Brian's can get us in and get us done on the title side. So it can be something that we just come out of the gates firing real fast. So appreciate you guys. Now, Lewis, what are your final thoughts?
Well, I just want everybody to stay safe, and like I said, this Dave is right. This will pass. And the thing is that one of the things that we found out in the restaurant industry is that I never met such nice people. I mean, our industry is really, you get, independent restaurants get beaten up the most compared to chain restaurants. But I've met more nicer people, and I want to say at the end of the whole thing is buy local, stay local, and when the time comes, that just remember the people that have supported you, and that's what you have to look at. So.
I thought was one thing you talked about that I thought was interesting that I forgot about. I do think about the restaurants and they're getting hit hard, but these restaurants support other businesses like the supply chain of food and silverware and napkins and all that stuff gets used by the restaurant. So there's a chain reaction. It's just like around here we talk about when General Motors goes down, you got the brake pad company, you got the company that paints, you got all these people that support General Motors with parts and different things, different services, even companies that go clean the plant. They're all in trouble when GM's in trouble. And the same thing with restaurants. There's a lot of companies that you guys buy from that now don't have your purchases on their books.
Well, just like the hotels, we're surrounded by 7 hotels. And usually on Sunday through Thursday, our business are transient people that come into town to do business. They usually run between 70-80% from Sunday through Thursday. They're running 3%. Some of them are even closed right now. So that tells you what impact it is, and it's like you're saying, it's a ripple effect that it happens to everybody. It hurts everybody.
Yes, sir. So I encourage everybody when this is over, hopefully you came out ahead with the stimulus and if you need unemployment, hopefully that system gets working correctly and everyone can get that. But hopefully we're all ready to go help the businesses get back on their feet so we don't see empty buildings lining the streets. So I encourage you guys to do that if you have the ability. I will try to do that myself. So thank you guys for coming on. I appreciate you. You guys stay safe. Keep hanging out with your families and enjoying that time that we're it's almost like we're forced to do some things that are good. So I can appreciate that. Thank you guys so much. And you guys have a good night. And thank you for everyone who's watching.
Thank you.
Have a good night.